Welcome everybody to meditation this week as we move into Christmas time. And we're going to look today at the beautiful words of Psalm 46. Be still and know that I am God. This beautiful short verse carries within it everything you need to know. Be still and know that I am God. And this is a commentary from the beautiful Trappist monk Thomas Merton, who was born in 1915. And so he was born into a world that was rapidly changing. And so this is his view of what's happening in the world, or was it at his time? I mean, if you think if he was in his 40s, it was the 1950s. Technology was beginning to become widespread, and the changes from there have just been exponential. But I think that when you hear what he has to say, you'll see that it applied not just to the world that he was born into, but very much so to the world we find ourselves in now. And I think this is just so important for us to understand. He says the rush and pressures of the modern life are a form, and perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. I mean, that's a bold statement, that it's the rush and pressures of modern life are the most common form of the innate violence of this modern life, where we rush and rush and rush. There is no ease in life anymore. So there's an enormous amount of dis-ease. And he goes along to say, to allow ourselves to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, and how does this apply to your life? To allow ourselves to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, and to want to help everyone in everything is to succumb to that violence. That sounds so almost alien to people. To want to help everyone in everything is to succumb to violence. But when you think about it, as we rush trying to make things okay for everyone else, rarely are they okay for us. And in this rush and pressure, there is no silence and there is no stillness. And it ties in with things that we've been talking about over the last few months, How do we know what to be doing next? Not wanting to help everyone with everything, but wanting to express from our soul, in attunement with our soul and with the Lord of our heart. What does that look like? This idea that you need this inner consent, this inner cooperation in order to be doing things out in the world. Otherwise, it's not the divine will, it's our ego's will, the will of the ego, And in fact, the modern, there's a lot of modern research on the whole issue of compassion. And here he talks about, this wanting to help everyone in everything. As human beings, in fact, we share it with a lot of other animals, is this ability to empathize. And so we see someone in pain, and we feel that pain within our being. If you're empathetic, which we all are, in a way, if you think, well, I'm not empathetic, yes, you are. We are all empathetic. Some of us are more aware of it than others, but it's a natural, normal response. And that's where we get worn out, this wanting to help everyone in everything, really what is not compassion fatigue, but empathy fatigue. Because compassion is a step forward. Compassion is that recognition that when you feel the pain of somebody else, you do want to be able to help them with that. That's all you need to do, is to recognize within yourself that readiness to be of service should you be needed. And then is the time to access your own soul, your own inner self, and say, is there anything I can do to be of service here? And sometimes it's a prayer. God bless this person. May God bless you in your pain. May you be free. Whatever your heart suggests to you. Or it may be that you stop what you're doing and you get involved and you help that person in a very practical way. But are you doing it from the ego, or are we doing it from the soul? So what a wonderful thing to free you from the burdens of the violence of modern life, of feeling that you're always torn, and the recognition of what you give up in yourself, thinking you're benefiting others. But if what you're doing isn't coming from your soul, then it may or may not be of any value. I mean, I think that this is such a profound thing to work on and to think about and to take into meditation. You know, people on the spiritual path very often want to help everyone with everything. And here's Thomas Merton saying that is to succumb to violence. Violence against your own being, and very often a violence to somebody else. You know, you may or may not know what the person needs in that moment, but by attuning with your soul or the Lord of your heart, then you will have a much better chance. I always remember somebody asking Little Crow many years ago, what it was when there was a real, I mean, it's still there, but there was a particular surge in the number of people standing on street corners with cards that said things like, you know, veteran, will work for food, please help, and things like that. And whereas many of them were genuine, many of them were not. Many of them, that was just the way they earned their living. And sometimes they earned a very good living. And so somebody asked Little Crow, well, what do you do when you see somebody begging? And I loved his answer. His answer was, I pray. How do I know what's needed? He said, so sometimes I walk past and do nothing. Sometimes I walk past and smile. Sometimes I stop and talk. Sometimes I give money. Sometimes I go buy food and bring it back. Sometimes I offer to take the person for something to eat. But it's done not out of this slightly distorted desire to help everyone with everything. It's, how can I be of service in this moment? And to be able to do that, we need to be able to be still. When everything around us is rushing, when there are pressures on all sides, in order to be of service to humanity, we need to be still. We need to know how to do that and be able to do it at will, eventually. So that any time you choose, you can take that pause, be still, and be open to how Spirit wants to express here. So what we're going to do now is to just meditate a little while together. And Thomas Merton says, sit, asking the Holy Spirit to be content, to wait patiently, lovingly, longingly. This is all you can do. This is all your part is in this. To sit and be still and ask the Holy Spirit, be content, wait patiently, lovingly and longingly. God must do all the rest, which I think is such a relief. When I was, you're new on the path, I felt like I wasn't doing enough, not doing enough, must try harder, must do better. And that somehow my doing would result in making God a part of my life. That I was going to, if I worked really hard at it, God would answer my prayer. But that changed over time. And what a relief to realize it's not dependent on what you do. It's dependent on what God does. All we can do is to be available. And this is a beautiful prayer from Thomas Merton. He said, as parched ground, looking upwards, waiting patiently for rain, I sit, waiting patiently for God's grace. So getting comfortable, sitting so that your spine's straight. Closing your eyes, taking a couple of deep breaths. And we'll go ahead and meditate for about 10 minutes or so. Contemplating, be still, and know that I am God. Rest into the great silence. Open your heart and wait for the presence of God. Oh. Joy. Now allowing any insights, blessings of this meditation become truly a part of your whole being, coming down through your intuition into your mind and your emotions, bringing that stillness into your life force, your physical body, as you tense and relax your arms and legs, and just moving from side to side, making smaller arcs until you're sitting straight. Just dropping your chin to your chest and either just moving your head from side to side, shoulder to shoulder, or if you have no neck problems, making a full circle in one direction and then in the opposite direction. And coming to rest and gently opening your eyes. Well, I hope you've been able to sense some of the stillness and recognize that that's where our best life comes from, our best choices. So when you're struggling with the rush and pressures of the world, don't make choices from the chaos. Make your choices from the stillness, the silence, and the intimacy with spirit. May this love, peace, and silence be with you through the whole of your day. Don't rush. And may you keep this beautiful connection with spirit, with your soul, with the Lord of your heart. Namaste. Jai.